Hey Steve. Okay, in this video I'm gonna show you how to install the Elementor plugin and set up your first page. Last video was installing a theme and customizing all the little options in a theme. So a theme will control pretty much everything about styles for general recurring things on the page, like by class, text, sidebars, headers, things like that. Elementor is a plugin that is a page builder. It will control everything else for an individual page. You know what it is. So okay, I'm just going to go to plugins then, and I'm going to add a new plugin. Search for Elementor, and I'm going to install it. While I'm here dealing with this plugin, and make sure you activate it. Okay, alright, so you can go through all that, but I'm going to close that for now. It's not what I'm going to do. At the top here, you'll be in WordPress constantly loves giving you these little flags up here at the top, and this one is because you installed Ocean WP, or I did, as your page theme, as your site theme. It also recommends installing Ocean Extra and WP Forms. Ocean Extra, you can just click on them in this case. It's just got a bunch of extra junk for Ocean WP, some widgets and meta boxes, a little more control of your customizer, and just some extra stuff. It's free, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And I'm not going to give an overview of it, but we'll see what it comes up with next time we're in Customizer, if we can even tell. And WP Forms, what's that? These are also plugins, and you can get these plugins through the plugins menu. Something for a special contact form. Maybe it integrates better with Ocean WP. That's why they recommend it. You can be your own judge of that. It looks like it's pretty easy by the screenshots, and probably you just use a shortcode to just drop it on the page. There are numerous contact forms. A very popular one is Contact Form 7, and there's many others as well. And before we come up with your contact form, maybe we should look at a couple of themes, so I'm going to leave that one for right now. It also recommended installing the plugin Elementor, which we just did, so it recognized that we did, and we turned it off. And did I get it's installed? Okay, so I'm just going to close that. Alright, so Elementor is installed, as you can see by the Elementor flag appearing, or the menu item appearing in sidebar here. So what we're going to do first is, I guess I'll go ahead and open this up and see what we get. We've got some settings, some general stuff we don't need to worry about really. Yeah, see, this is very, very, I don't know, either very broad or very specific stuff, and not really super relevant to the page building that we're going to do. This is for, so there's different users, and you can set, looks like, different power over Elementor for different types and classes of user. I've got you in as an editor or an administrator, which is a top level user role, and so you'll have full control. Let's see what we got in tools. Generate CSS. Nah, if honestly, I'm a blitz through the rest of this because I don't see anything really that is super important for just getting started. It's your getting started thing. Knowledge base. Oof, no, back. This is there's a great funnel for you to learn on your own if you want to do that. Custom fonts, there you go. They know that people want that, I guess, so they put it in the menu now. You can go ahead and buy it and go pro and get your own custom fonts, but you're going to get Google fonts in Elementor, and I don't know if you've seen every Google font, but there is quite a bit to work with there. Between Ocean's WP and Elementor, I think you're going to be just fine. So let's go ahead and make a thing. Let's go to a page and add a new page. Dismiss this notice and get that out of there. Add a new page. And once it's opened up this page, this is the new Gutenberg editor, which is a new feature in WordPress 5. Totally changed the way that the default page builder in WordPress worked. There's a bit of controversy about whether or not it's good. It's more familiar. It's more like a Squarespace thing now, more like maybe using Medium instead of using just the old editor was like a word processor, really, and you basically were still using HTML and widgets and shortcodes and things like that. to build out your page. But really what is much more powerful and easy to work with is Elementor. So I'm just going to click on Edit in Elementor, and here we go. I haven't even given it a title to this page yet. So here we go. Let's go into settings real quick. Let's say we're building the home page. Let's let it be a draft. Let's see if we've got, let's put a featured image and see what that looks like. I'm just going to go through everything just like the first time. Let's see if I've got camera. No. Backgrounds. Here we go. Let's just put, I don't know, piece of ice. It doesn't show up on the page at the moment. Hide title. You can control at a page level. In the last video, I showed how you can hide titles across your entire website using the customizer and OceanWP's settings to hide the page title. But if you don't want to do that for every page, you just want to do it for a specific page, down here in settings, when you're elementing the page that you're building, you can hide the title right here. So I'm going to leave that off because we got site-wide title hides. Page layout. You can control if it's full width, if you've got a landing page or canvas. I'm not really sure about that. We'll go ahead and build the page as we like. For styling, I can go in here and give an image for the entire background. So there's some page specific stuff. You of course will be covering basically all of this with elements inside this page. But if you want to set your native background, or an image for the background, any of that, you're able to do that. Control padding on your page, the inset before your content appears. Looks like you can put a gradient in here. These types of styles right here, you can do this for almost every element that you put on the page in Elementor. Let's just do a quick gradient and see what that's like. We got a gray and pink. Move the location, move the second color location. Can I make it spin around? I can. Let's say if it's radial, I can do that also. A bunch of weird stuff. I'm just going to leave it as a plain white background. And let's go to advanced. Go Pro for custom CSS on the page. Okay. So now that we've done the general page settings, if you want to use Navigator, there's that. All the elements will appear in there. I don't really use that, but if you get a real complex page, you put a whole bunch of stuff in there, it shows up in in a nested tree of things, and it can make selecting things a little more easy. Maybe I'll just leave that on down here as I work, but I usually do not use that. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to get started with your very first div or your block in Elementor. You can do what I just did a second ago. You can just grab any of these things, any of these different elements, and you just drag them over there. Put heading over there, and boom, there you are. You're just in. It creates a section, which is this blue box, and then it puts this content block inside of it, and you've got control of that, and you can right-click it, and you've got some options there. And that's one way to do it. You can manually build out the div first. You can say add a new section, and you get some structure options in here. If you wanted to do like a multi-column setup, say you wanted to put some blocks in it. Something that is useful for doing it, a good reason to do it that way, I guess, even if you don't want columns, is because then you can use this intersection option right here, and you can put a section inside of one of these columns, and that's a special trick. Like say now I've got two in there. I've got two inside of this. I've got a big area, and then I've got 3 smaller areas, and then I've got couple of smaller areas inside of one of those. That's like a triple nested div right there, and that's a unique thing because I can put an intersection inside of one of these preset columns, but I can't put one inside of these inner ones. That's as far as you can go. And if you make an area, you just put a section down, you can't put an intersection inside of that. So if you do, you start with a couple of columns, you can't put an intersection inside of it. I know this is like ridiculous, but I would recommend using this to decide the layout of your page. Even if you're just doing one, even if you're just doing one at a time, I recommend using that instead of starting to just drop content on the page willy-nilly. Make your section first because it gives you a couple of ways. It gives you a little bit more control of the alignment, the position of the elements inside of there, the intersection thing being one of them. And I know that probably does not make a lot of sense right now, but you will run into that pretty quick, I imagine, when you're trying to make a couple of different elements in a section. Another way is to add a template. Elementor's got a ton of different crud that you can just have pre-made pages. You can swap content out very comfortably. The original one I did, let me see if I can find that. Here it is. Let's have a look at that. I think this one, oh, it's not this one. I used one of these templates on the original Last Fall or Baller, and it's not a bad idea to start from here. As a beginner, here it is. I'll go ahead and insert this one to throw us some just some starter content on there. Here we go. You may recognize this. I'll close Navigator. It's positioned a little bit differently. I did tailor it a bit, but there you've got a big section with a background image. You've got a big strong header up here. Thin text, little line right there for your title and tag. Another completely different section right here, but it's been aligned to be inset a little bit, and you can just set the position of these using this advanced panel here. Let me say edit image. Where is this section? Maybe. Oh, it's none of these, is it? It's because it's this column. Is it this column? There it is. Okay, so the way that they're doing this is they've got a multi-column section down here. This is a little column icon. This is a column icon. These are those intersections in here in this larger section. And in one of these columns, he's got an image, just an image element, which is right here. You just add the column and drag this into it. So when you edit the column, over in advanced, which is where a lot of the positioning things are, he's got a negative 110 margin, and that controls the starting position of the column. It's a negative 110 pixels away from the natural flow of the page. That's how they got that overlay on there, and that is a great trick, and I use that all the time. You've got little button elements here. These things just flow naturally. You can position all of these things. Great little page. Good place to start. Demonstrates a lot of things. You can just go in here and say edit this, or edit this column, or edit this image. Say, how did I get that? There's the image for the inside of the column, and its attachment is fixed. That gives it that parallax. Say its attachment will scroll. That would stick with it. Default. That's the same, but you could set a fixed attachment, and so it stays fixed as you roll. Neat little trick there. This is just using some columns and some spacing. I think you can just grab them and pull that stuff around. If you've got a multi-column layout, that's fantastic. And just pull it around, and all the stuff will flow. And the images, they just continue to make sense. A couple of images in. I think this is just actually one large image, isn't it? It is. Oh, 9 images selected. It's an image carousel element. So that's something like image carousel. So it's just one of the elements they've got in there. Great place to learn about that. Just drop a couple of sections in there, experiment, learn a couple of different things. That's honestly how that stuff started for me. When you're done with it, you can just turn it all off. And I'm going to go through. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and make like a one regular section for you. So I'm just going to go the pink plus regular section here. So let's lay that out to be for a full width page, which is probably what we're doing most of the time, right? Okay. So I'm going to say stretch section. It takes me into layout style and advanced for this section, which is this blue thing right there. And I'm going to say stretch section. That'll take the bounds of the section all the way out. There's still a content width, which is this initial column here. I could say that's full width also, and it will make the column to the bounds. Have a look at how that's different there. There's the bounds of the column. There's that. So it gives you already a distinction between the section and the content. If we had multiple columns, you could control column gap. This is not always a sure thing in my experience. I'd rather manually control the column gap. This seems to be easily overridden by almost any element in here, but there it is. Height, you can say a default, which is to be the height of the content that is inside of it. You can put it fit to screen, which is to make it the whole screen, however big the user's screen is, or you can set a minimum height, and obviously that's what that is. Let's say a minimum height just to get some space for someone to say just 450. And usually we'd have that flow, but sometimes you want a little more. Column position in the middle, of course. Content position, put that in the middle as well. And there we go. Okay, let's go to style. And let's say for a normal background, let's do just a color. Let's do a green color. That's fine. Yeah, right there. Just gonna set that. I don't want to mess with that too much. Sort of a greenish blue color. That's fine. And let's say you've also got hover, so you can set a separate background when you're hovering. Let's say we do this other green. And does that? Sure enough, look at that. You got hover controls for your background. You'll have a hover and a normal control for a lot of elements, for buttons, for images. I think you can make pop when it's on hover. There's a lot of options that reflect this normal hover type distinction in Elementor. You can do gradients, you can do a background video as well. Very simple. Okay, let's have a look at a background overlay. This is where I put those stripes at the top of the collab page. You can use an image for that. You can do, you know, whatever you like. Put a gradient on there. And then set the opacity of that background. Say it to just like, I don't know, like a blue. And oops. And turn the opacity up. You know, I don't know why you'd want to do that unless you want to put some texture on it. That's where this option is. You have a hover state for that as well. I'm going to set that back to default. Border. So say you want a solid border on it, you can make it be as thick or as thin as you want. You can make it unlinked so that it's only border on the top super hard or only border on the bottom super hard. I'm just scrolling up and down and I'm just going to link them and I'm going to zero them out because I don't want a border. You can change the color of it, make it your border radius, make it round. Do a box shadow on it. I will use that in some occasions. Just automatically drops a little box shadow on there. Good for dividing elements. Really more, I like to put it behind images. I know that's like tacky nowadays. We know about all that, but I'll turn that off. I turn that off by hitting this back to default circle right there. If you ever get too far, you can do that. You also have a history, so you can go back and go back in time and do whatever you like. So you know, major deal to me. To get back into editing, if I've lost it, I'll just right click on the content, or for a section specifically, I'll right click up on that blue little tab, edit section, take me right back where I was. I did layout, I'm still in style. We did borders, bleh. Shape divider. Shape divider is pretty cool. I'm gonna show you here by, let's say, I'll try mountains. Oh, I gotta do the top one. Do drops. It's just some stuff that you can do to slice the background of your section into different shapes and make them be. So I use, where is it? Tilt. This effect I'll use on. Oops, not Mimers.Collab. I'll use on Mimers.com. This is one of those effects. This is one of those effects. This is also one of those effects to shape divider effects. And so you can control, you know, every little bit about it, flip it around, make it be over other images, change the color of it so that there's another color in the background of it, you know, whatever you like. And you've got a bottom of that as well. Put clouds down there, flip them, invert them, you know, a lot of neat little tricks you can do in there to keep it interesting on the page. I'll leave that top shape divider on. Let's see if no, I'll turn it off. I'll do a bottom shape divider and I'll do the tilt. Do not a strong tilt. And flip it back. Okay, there we go. Typography. Okay, so you can. It looks like you've got, for this specific section, it has its own typography, even though there's no text in it right now. It's just some general settings, so we don't have any text, so I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to control typography in individual elements, or let the theme decide. So I'm going to leave this section alone. In advanced, this is where we get into a lot of our positioning, tricks like we did with that image in the template that we brought in from Baller. I'm going to unlink margin, because margin is how the section connects to things around it, outside of it. Padding is the way that it deals with things that are inside of it. You know, the content inside of it to the outer bounds of it versus the content outside of it to its outer bounds. So I'm going to use margin, and I'm actually going to do that same trick. I've got a little split here. I'm not sure why it's included that, but I want this top section to be flush with the header. Even though the page title has been hidden, I've still got some distance, so I'm just going to grab it and scroll back. Bring it up. It's probably like 50 pixels. 50 pixels it looks like it is. Maybe 51. I think 50 is probably where we're at. I'll bring that down. 50 pixels exactly. So that's by design, but I'm not sure where that 50 pixels comes from. And I'm constantly coming in here and explaining to Elementor that my top section needs to be, you know, up by the header, and I have to manually tell it. And just scroll until you see it. Padding. That's for content inside. Let's go ahead and throw something in there. Put a little icon in there. Just anything, I guess. It's really not a great. It's really not a great. I'm going to go back into edit section. Back over to advanced where we were. Padding. Okay. So let's see if we can see this. Is it doing it? It is. It is. So we're dealing with the outermost bounds of the section and how the padding is. You know, I'm sure you know what padding is. But here's the innermost bound of that, the outermost bound of that column. This is on the left side. So I'll unlink these values, and I'll roll this left side in a lot. No, I'm unlinked. Unlink. There it is, and you can see the little star moving. It's because I'm moving this section in here a lot. Just turned. Not a great teacher, I'm sorry. There you go. So like all the padding is zeroed out except for this left side, which is 100 pixels inset. So you might be like, well, why is there a bunch of space here and here? You know, it looks like there's padding on the top and the bottom, up in this area and in this area. Where this is flush, you can see that. Content is centered, so but we're just looking at this dotted line here. So why is there this space? Well, it's because in the section, go edit the section, we're already in the section. Over in layout, we set the minimum height to 450, so that is where that extra padding is coming from. We're adding 450 pixels. You know, we're adding however much, you know, is the difference between 450 pixels and the height of the content, and that's what makes it look like we have extra padding over there. So that's just about everything that there is to do with layout. I really don't often come down into responsive. But it can be useful for some things if you want to hide a section based on what device it's on, and then you have custom CSS for that as well. GoPro, Z-index, that's like the stack. If you put a couple of sections and you do make them overlay, say like that image, say like we had a section here. Let's just make one more section, and let's say I'm just going to style it blue real quick. Oh, in fact, I'll just put this ice up here. How about that? Say make it full width and stretch it, and let's do a minimum height so we can see it. Okay, wow, that's beautiful. Alright, but I'm gonna edit the section, and I want to go into the margin and make these two things run into each other. You know, these two sections, they're trying to occupy the same space just a little bit. So I'm going to grab this section and edit section. Now I'm dealing with this green section now. Go over advanced. Let's go to Z-index and turn it to 1. Well, you know, the default Z-index is 0, I think, for everything. So now that I've got it on 1, it's on top of this one. I do 0, and I can't go any lower than that. You could put, you know, 60 things on top of each other and just add Z-index to them, and that'll be just, you know, what's on top of what. I'm sure you know about that because you've had courses and things like that. Entrance examination, that's fun. You know, it's like flash in. There's some down here that are like, you know, I probably wouldn't use these for an entire section. Probably use it for like a little element or something. It's the same stuff is in here. So bounce in. There it is. This section has a lot of the same, probably most of the same options in these three sections. Most of the same options as every element. You know, has these same options. I can go into this this icon, and I can put this bounce in and this hover normal state, you know, for and the margin and the padding and all these other things, especially further back here in advanced. As you know, as I get when I'm editing a section, and all that same stuff is there. Rotate in, you know, a bunch of just a bunch of silly stuff in here. How do I do? I'm just gonna exit so that there's nothing there. CSS ID, if you want to assign a specific CSS style that you've designated or a specific CSS class, and refer to it in custom styles either in, you know, a widget or in your customizer. That is something you can do there. And then just real quick, I guess I'm gonna build a layout that kind of makes sense. I'm gonna delete this bottom section here by just right clicking. I'm gonna delete this thing here. I'm gonna edit the section. I'm gonna turn this back to 0, but I want that to stay on. So I want the content width in there. And let's add some elements. So to get back to the elements, you can either click off or you can click on this. Let me change this background. That's really that's killing me. It's just killing me. Just do like this. Make it be like a sort of even a gray background is okay. I'm going to take off the shape divider. And I'm just saying none. There we go. Okay. So I'm going back to elements. It's in this this Rubik's Cube up here. I've still got my hover on. Gosh darn. Okay. Let's add a heading. I'm just gonna drag that onto there. I'm gonna center it. I'm gonna give it a little name there. Make it HTML1. It's not going to matter really. I'm going to give it its own independent styles here by coming over to Style, and here we go. In text color, I can set it to be a color, and then everything else is in typography. This is actually a pretty dense set of options here. Let's just come down and just pick not that one. Cabin's a decent font. It's good, easy to read for page font. Make that pretty big. Make it bold. It looks like it already was bold. No transformation, no style. I won't decorate it. I don't worry about the line height or the letter spacing. Okay. Text shadow. Why not? Let's give it a little bit more. Change the position of it. I don't know. I'm making the tackiest looking thing ever, you know. And then blend modes. My goodness, look at all that. Just for a header? Jeez. Wow. Alright, over in advanced, I'm not going to worry about the position of it, but I'm going to give it an entrance examination of bounce in. Is that weird? Maybe I'll do shake. I don't know. Wobble. There you go. Super distracting. No. I'm just going to go back and do a regular bounce in. Can I do it quick? There you go. Yes, fast animation. And that's all I'm going to do there. Alright, I'm going to add some text. Just grab a text element. I just clicked up on the Rubik's Cube, grab some text. And let's see. I'm just going to leave that text how it is actually right now. I'm just going to leave it how it is. I'm going to style it. For some reason the centering is here now. And text color, that's fine. Text color, let's make it a little bit bigger. Just like that, actually, that's fine. I know this is a bunch of nonsense. You can edit this here, or you can, you know, edit it in its content by right-click, edit heading, or clicking on it and grabbing that information here. Let's make this a little longer. There you go. Okay. So there's two things I need to do now. Is I need to right-click on this section here, get back into this section, go to Style, grab my hover state, turn that crap off. There we go, so I'm not hovering and blinking. And now I need to go over to Advanced, and I need to set some padding up for this intersection here, because I like how it is, you know, but I want to give it a little bit of setting. I'm going to link all this together, and I'm going to just cut it in a little bit, so that this text, and 50 is fine, and then I'm going to do the right to 100, and then left to 100. That gives me a little bit of distance from the wall there. Saves it from looking too weird. There you go. Just like that. If I want to do even more padding, I can grab this edit the text editor, and add even more padding to it, which is kind of silly. We'll zero that all back out. And let's do one more thing. Let's put an image in here. Let's do the glacier. Glacier, man. Alright, that's cool. It's a little big, so I'm gonna make it be thumbnail, maybe medium. How about that? Medium large. I don't know. Centered, of course. No caption. I don't need a link on there. Let's see what styles we have in an image. Width, so you can manually set the width. That's cool. And this is by percent, by pixel, or by something else. I'm not really sure what that is. I'm gonna say 25 pixels. And I'll say the max width on it. Let's do is 60 pixels. I don't know. In case I don't know. You don't really need to set that. 60%. You set opacity and hover and border type, border radius, box shadow if you want to do that. I don't know, that doesn't look great. Okay. Border radius, that could be cool if you want to round it out. I think anything over, I don't know, for square shapes, I think at like 50, it basically becomes a circle. Sometimes you want to make a circle. It looks like this one's going to be like 100 pixels. It depends on the size of it. Okay. So this is a cool thing, but let's do one more thing here. Say you had a series of things, and you wanted to do like a comparison. Like over in Colab, we've got like something like this. Say you want to just make something like this, similar stuff, you know, and about the same size. Header up here, pretty easy to do. You just go to this column that you've made. You make one of them, and then you just right click on that column and duplicate it, and it'll appear right next to it. So for our purposes, maybe we make all this a little bit smaller so we can make this look good. This is getting pretty long, I'm sorry, but it is gonna be a lot of information. I'm gonna edit this one, and I'm gonna make the size even smaller. There you go. Alright, so now I'll duplicate this entire column, and I'll duplicate it one more time. And now I've got these templates, you know, and they're set in correctly, and they're basically built. I can come in here, and I'll make these, let's see, make these a little bit bigger. Now that I know that I can get them to be a little bit bigger here. And you'd maybe set all this before. There's something like that. You can change the width between these columns, which I don't know why you'd want to do that. Be careful about doing that. I go into history and fix it, you know. And you could even do some weird stuff. Edit the column. I'm going to go over to advanced, unhook the margin, and I'm going to say this one is minus 50. Oops. Let's change that to a minus. Say this one is 50 plus, and then a column. This one is 100 plus. I'll fix this image's size. There you go. Now I got a little staggering thing going. You know, I don't know. I know how to do this, but I don't have fantastic ideas. You know what I mean? With some good ideas, this would be very, very easy to do. Is really what the point is. You know, by just experimenting with that, and don't forget also to come in here and add a couple of these. Don't do these ones that say Go Pro. It'll make you buy it. You know, but this one's free. This insert, that one's free. That one's free. You can just do that without having to go Pro. Pro will give you a couple of other widgets, and they're necessary to make this specific look or something. You know. But anything in these you can build pretty easily and reverse engineer, and it's pretty sweet. Some of the widgets over here have animations and have you know, like a counter. I'll grab and put you that in there. You know, that's just a little. You can set the starting and ending number prefix. Have a look through these. Go through for every single one of these elements. They have 3 sections: the content, the style, which are after just a short time, the options that appear in here will be very, very familiar, and you'll be very comfortable styling and setting up these. These are common options that apply to just about any element. And advanced, all of these are always the same. Every element has this advanced section. It's the same section, and it's you know, it's just like It's basically how you would drag it around on the page. Are these options in here, for position and for its relationship with other elements on the page. And then content will change based on what class of content it is. If it's a header, it'll have this content section will change. The image, this content section will change a lot. But these styles over here, sometimes this will change. For text, it's pretty much all the same stuff. For counter, the style is basically the same stuff. It's broken down by number. It makes sense. And then for title, you get your own styles. And for sections, you get all the options. Just right-click on those things, and that'll get you into these 3 tabs for the specific element, and it's highlighted in blue. So I'm doing this one now, this specific element. Now it's highlighted in blue, and I'm in there. Check your right-click menu. You can save any element or any section or anything as a template. Let's do that. Say first template. I'll save that in there. This entire thing now, because I right-clicked and I did it on this section. This entire thing is a template now. I can do let's say an existing template. Maybe I can. Oh, here it is. My templates. If you're in a new section, you click on the folder. You can do these blocks. It's another thing that you can just drop in and insert. These are sweet. These are sweet. Like, look at this. Look at I don't know. These are all pro. That's a cool one right there. Just drop it in the page. Boom. You have this built-out thing for you. A template for whatever you want to do. I'm going to go back into these folders, and I'm going to, you could favorite them. Look at that. I mean, my goodness. Then you go to My Templates, and there's my first template. I'm going to insert that one. Document settings. Now I'm not going to import the document settings because I have the settings set up, and boom, there it is. An exact duplicate of this thing up here. And if it's a template, I can change the content. If it's a specific element that I've spent a long time building out in like a test page where I don't want to I don't want to bump around other things on a page that I'm comfortable with, but I want to work on like changing that element or something on another section in another private page, something that's not published, you can save a template out from that. And when you're comfortable with it, you just come over and drop it in or swap it out for something else. Do seasonal things in here and then just go grab the seasonal template for like say Christmas or Valentine's Day or something and swap it into place on the page that you want it to be. It's just so I'm getting a call. Hey, that's the end of this video anyway. So have a good one, man. Sorry it's so long.